Today, we explore the environmental job listings this beautiful country has to offer. And we ask ourselves the question, is the sustainable way the right way of farming? Okay, so today we are in Soul of Discretion, which is a family-owned local business here in Plymouth. We'll be interviewing Caroline, who is the owner of the business, to ask what the difference is between this family-owned fishery compared to big corporate organizations. What would you say are the kind of sustainable fishing practices that you use here?
Okay, well, I started Soul of Discretion, which is a community interest company, so it's not a limited company. It's owned by the fishing community that land to it, to essentially protect the livelihoods of the smaller scale fisher, which are defined differently all around the world. But in the UK, the government defines small scale as under 10 metres. So it's quite a distinct set of regulations that apply to the over 10 metre boats and the under 10 metre. So I work exclusively with the under 10 metre vessels, who are demonstrating to be shown globally, but in Britain as well, that, for example, they discard far less fish. So the bigger boats discard significant amounts of their catch, either as bycatch or discards. So there's no waste in the small scale fisheries. Secondly, they have very little environmental damage on the marine seabed. So a massive beam trawler, most of the boats out of Brixton, for example, are big beam trawlers. And if you've seen David Attenborough's Oceans, you'll have seen a clip which, even knowing as much as I do about fisheries, still when I saw that clip was just so shocking, so impactful. It trawls up the seabed. So massive damage to the bottom of the seabed. The small boats just can't do that. I mean, they're just too small, but they don't have the beams. They're not beam trawlers. They're static gill nets or handline or otter trawls for the most part. So there's the marine damage, and then there's the fuel, which increasingly in the times we're living on,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
it's becoming really important. So a typical beam trawler, and this is before the prices have gone up recently, would be using maybe £15,000 worth of fuel per trip. I mean, It's just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And the smaller boats use far. So the fisher that you've just seen as you were walking out, for example, he was saying he uses about 3 litres, like a jerry can of thing for his whole thing. So the fuel, this is not just, it's not an economies of scale thing. It's fuel per kilo of fish caught is significantly smaller with the small boats.
Okay.
Which when I learned that, I was kind of surprised, but I thought there must be some kind of economies of scale to support the bigger, and there's not.
Right.
So on all those things. And then the fourth and last thing is the social impact. So the small scale boats are all owner occupied. And so they'll go out, they'll fish, they'll come back, they'll land their fish, and they'll have spent half their income in the pub on the way home kind of thing.
Brilliant.
It keeps it in the local community.
Yeah. So kind of building on that, how do you deal with a surplus of product that you can't sell?
So that model is really key, trying to build a business that deals with the troughs and the peaks of the fishing, because of course the small boats particularly are completely bound by the weather. If the weather is good, they will all be out and they'll all be phoning me going, Caroline, can we land you fish? This year we've barely heard from any of them because the winds have been so high. They don't care about the wind, the rain or the snow. But if it's windy, they just can't go out. It's too dangerous. And so the way we deal with that is by freezing fish. And it's the only thing that I think allows us to be consistent in our supply of fish. So if we've got fish, by the end of the day, it's not being used, we blast freeze it, and it sits in vacuum packs in our freezer so we can consistently supply our customers. And so most of them, because they're ethically minded customers, get it.
Yes.
There are a few, and it's probably the biggest reason we don't deal with chefs, for example, that just won't deal with frozen fish. There's still this stigma around frozen fish.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you blast freeze it within a few hours of it being landed, you're locking in that quality.
Yeah.
So that's how we get over that problem.
Okay, brilliant. So if you could kind of expand on why you think smaller businesses are particularly important for the food systems in the UK.
Oh my gosh, for smaller businesses, for the food system, it just shocks me that the UK is so blasé about its food security. I think in Europe, or well, I know in Europe, we are the most dependent on imported goods.
Yes.
So we supply the least of our own food, not just fish, but everything. And you can just see from the impacts of the Ukraine war on the price of sunflower oils, potatoes, all the rest of it. So it's so much impact on things like McCain oven chips,
Yeah.
which actually had a really great consequence for our local schools here, because when McCain's was starting to sell oven chips to the schools at vastly increased prices thanks to the war in Ukraine, it got the local farmers going, oh, well, maybe we can make you some, I mean, they'll be wonky chips, but, you know, we can grow potatoes for you. And within 6 months, local schools were getting wonky chips grown from the periphery of farms around Plymouth.
Sure.
So it takes shocks in the system to stop this kind of mega flow of capitalist income just pushing
Absolutely.
a system forward. So I think increasingly it will become important for shorter supply chains. And I think Plymouth particularly is really aware of that.
Yeah.
And the council is supportive of it. The big problem, of course, is the affordability of it. And it's that, how do you transition from
Yes.
that to the...
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Perfect. I think that's everything.
Great.
Yes. In a time where large industries dominate, businesses like this offer something different. Transparency, sustainability, and a genuine connection to the community they serve. Their approach isn't just about catching fish. It's about preserving a way of life, supporting local economies, and protecting the future of our oceans. We encourage you to support these companies and other smaller businesses by going out and exploring the markets and the shops.